And it's also nice to really discuss a topic that is very broad, but yet in the same time very focused on the individual. The topic is the financial independence. So the financial independence requires a psychological approach. It's a very broad topic, but yet it's very subjective. Every single individual that you come across, if you think about yourself, we all have these glass ceilings in our mind. We all have these limitations that are limited literally by what we can and can't deal with in our own minds. And sometimes what we need to do is sit across the table or sit with somebody who's not ourselves and get a true, honest approach and appraisal of where we stand, so that we can start to work towards a goal and not be limited by our own emotions or by our own scenario, and rather let someone else help us to unpack where we are, where we want to get to, how we're going to create that independence. And once again on the line we have Jodi Suchard. Jodi, welcome back to Chai FM.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for getting my surname right.
There was one thing I wasn't going to get wrong again this time, even though I still hold I didn't get it wrong, but Suchard it is. Jodi, it was actually become a point of discussion in the radio station, and apparently there was a very famous company in South Africa, Suchard Sweets.
Yes.
I wasn't aware of that. The only Suchard, as I said to you, I know is Rabbi Suchard, but I didn't know there was a company that manufactured delicacies.
It's based in Switzerland. It's actually my husband's family based in Switzerland. It's like distant family, but they used to, so Sugar, I don't know if you remember Sugar Sweets.
No.
They actually were the first to introduce that. Also, they're actually very big in Switzerland with regard to chocolate. So it's a very well-known chocolate brand.
Okay, good. Well, Suchard it is. Jodi, let's quickly, just lay the lie of the land, give people a taste of what's going to be coming up in the show. Psychological approach, is it really important to financial planning?
Definitely, because we all governed by emotion. So when we if we were to look after our own money, we are governed by what fear, greed, sentiment, all these emotions that potentially will impact our future planning. So therefore you need somebody objective, somebody that is clinical, that you strip out the emotion. So it's a completely different approach than the normal approach that individuals take.
So Jodi, you made it very clear before the break that it's crucial to sit down with somebody who's not going to be emotionally clouded like you are when it comes to money, because everybody's relationship with money is different. Is that correct?
You're 100% correct. You should have a business relationship with your advisor. It shouldn't be a family member, it shouldn't be a brother, sister, it should be somebody completely independent.
When we talk about relationships with money, isn't it all the same? Everybody wants more and everybody wants to spend more, or there's some people who want to save and that's when they feel happy when they see big bank balances, and some people only feel that they'll be happy when they see luxury items in the garage and in the cupboard.
So people view money very differently, and every case is unique. But it's also how we brought up as individuals. What comes from the home is how we also see money in our later years when we become an adult. So we try and change perception of how do people see money, and what will money help? Will it help them to buy happiness? Then they've got the wrong approach. So we need to understand and unpack what they're looking to achieve and their strategy and plan going forward once they're financially independent.
So really what it means is that someone needs to monitor it, or sit down with you, create this so-called roadmap, and they help you to monitor it on an ongoing basis. But does it really mean that but what I'm trying to say is that, can it get to a scenario where it's like going to your psychologist every month to sit down and say, Jodi, should I buy this or shouldn't I buy this? Or is it a little bit more mature than that in the financial sense?
But I think it's exactly like that. You have an emotional, you have a relationship with your advisor, but if you're making big decisions, you need to consult, be it the person of choice, to determine will it impact your future roadmap that you plan for. It's the same as a diet. If you eat a specific chocolate on that day, will it impact on weight loss? So you just need to ensure that you have somebody that ticks the boxes and that follows a structured approach in planning. And that's where the advisor comes in. So it's an emotional game because people want what's out there. They want to be like the Joneses, if that's what they're striving to be. And we come in and we put perspective on what they're trying to achieve.
Just to deviate a little bit, isn't it also societal driven? If you look at different pockets of society, you look at different echelons of society, you tend to have different focuses. For example, let's take the Japanese culture in general is known as a savings culture, where a lot of money is hoarded, a lot of money is saved, and therefore that people are able to retire at a target date and they're able to live comfortably thereafter. On the other side of the coin, you take the South African scenario. I just heard you say the stat that we use 3 times more the amount of water than the average developed country, but apparently we save a fraction of what developed countries do. As South Africans, we tend to live for now. We tend to want to keep up with the Joneses. I suppose someone's going to be willing to sit down with yourself and say, Jodi, I'm putting myself at your mercy. If you give me a prescription like a doctor would give me one, I would go into Discam and buy the medicine and take it. So too with you. Tell me what I need to do and I need to listen. But I suppose if someone doesn't want to listen, then they're their own worst enemy.
So they've got to basically want to take advice and accept that they're going to be getting advice.
Right.
It's like going to, like you said, like going to a doctor. You feel that there is a problem, so you go and seek counseling or advice. And that's basically, our clients are the best clients if they listen to us. If they don't listen to us, there's no point in trying to change them. You can't change a person. So it's case by case situation.
Okay, so now we've got a scenario where we need to start building a roadmap. I'm sure there's a lot of people listening and thinking, okay, what is Jodi going to say? Is she going to take me out of my comfort zone? Or is she going to work with me within my comfort zone? Or I'm going to feel totally displaced by the advice because it's something that I've always dreaded and now I need to go there. So let's start at the very beginning. You've given me 4 factors that one needs to look at for this roadmap. Let's start with lifestyle. How do you unpack that with the client?
So what we're trying to understand is what's their current lifestyle and what's their strategy for the rest of their life. Because if I can understand their strategy, then we can work towards a plan. Potentially, people might not have a strategy, and it takes them time to develop. Are they going to maybe live in South Africa? Are they going to move abroad? Are they going to have a house, a flat to rent? Once we've unpacked that specific silo, we can move forward. But with unpacking your lifestyle, we look at your budget. We look at how are you currently living. And we actually do a lifelong cash flow and determine what is that magic number that you need to sustain your current standard of living or increase your standard of living for the rest of your life. So it's important to work together to develop that plan.
And I suppose this is one time that honesty is really, really crucial and essential. Because if you're not honest with the financial planner by putting everything on the table, all the debt skeletons in the closet, all the HPs that you might have that you don't really want anybody to know about, the plan's never going to work. And so too, one needs to say, I do want to travel. I would like to spend 3 months abroad a year. Because if that's also not on the table, then the cash flow will be short.
No, exactly. And also if you can't travel, we're going to tell you you can't travel.
Absolutely.
So we actually have a very hard conversation.
Great.
If you live beyond the conversation with you and inform you that we need to cut costs and live within your means.
Okay, so let's start there. Wealth creation. What is the process that one needs to put in place in order to start creating wealth?
So the first point is go speak to a trusted individual, somebody independent. And that is very important because once you speak to somebody independent, they will see within your budget how much you can potentially save every month. And that will result in you creating wealth, as well as within your employment. Wealth creation comes from employment, basically, or entrepreneurship, or owning a business. It makes you wealthier. So within your organization, there might be an opportunity to contribute to their pension fund. And there might be an opportunity for you as an individual to have excess money and contribute by yourself. But consistent good decisions are important. To constantly every month know that you're saving, be it 1 rand or 500 million rand, whatever the number is, it's consistent. And by the power of compounding, like Warren Buffett spoke about, consistency is key. It will result in growth.
And, that's something that's people often take for granted. I've got a pension or provident fund. That's almost a forced saving. By opting out of that and you're not saving the money, you're going to squander it. So, often that's the advice that's needed. Jodi, we were discussing the roadmap, and we discussed that one needs to unpack your lifestyle, where you are, where you're going. One has to understand how to create wealth, where to save, how to save. But I suppose as important as creating and putting away is the preservation thereof. You want to see that it grows and doesn't diminish.
Agreed. Because there's no point putting your money in a bank account, because it doesn't even keep up with inflation and the taxes around putting your money in a bank account. So you need to ensure, to reduce your risk, diversify. And diversify across the continent if you're able to, ultimately, to invest abroad, because we believe South Africa is 0.7% of the world's economy. You can't diversify in such a small blip in the rest of the world. So wealth preservation is key, and consistently taking profit when you are above a certain limit. Always never gamble with somebody's money. Our mandate is to preserve clients' money and to ensure that they can retire and know that they've got enough money to live the lifestyle they're accustomed to.
And that's really what it's all about. So once again, just coming back to the organization as a whole, that is Citadel's focus. That's their specialty. That's really the expertise. So people should really be in touch with you once they've got, or from the very beginning, but specifically if you're looking at diversifying and investing across the world in different asset classes, across countries, they should just be in touch with you, and we'll give out the details at the end of the show in a few minutes. But at the end of the roadmap, we're talking about other people's money. In other words, leaving legacy. How does that work?
So we actually determine the lifelong, let's call it, budget, sets the foundation for all investments and sets the foundation to determine how much money do you and your family need to sustain your current standard of living. Anything above that is excess. It's for other people. OPM, we call it, other people's money. Money in your lifetime you'll never spend. And this is particularly governed by structure. So we put the right structures in place to ensure this legacy is left behind. We also we look at your wills. We also have a different investment strategy for other people's money, ultimately. So it's basically the first starting point is setting the foundation, is building a house, is putting the bricks down. How do we put the bricks down? We create a budget. And by doing that, we can see exactly how to invest, how much money you need, that magic number, and how much money will be over and above for other people. And then we start with the actual detail of devising the plan and working towards it.
But ultimately what it boils down to is being able to sit with somebody who's proficient, who's professional, who's competent, and most importantly is independent. So there's no emotional smoke or charade around the decisions. It's absolutely clinical, and I'm sure at times it must be quite painful for people to go through to face their demons like this.
No, it is. It is very painful, and it is also very hard when you have to have the conversation that you don't have enough money for the rest of your life. So that's also a very difficult conversation, but you've got to catch it early because things can change. As long as you catch it early enough and not when you've retired, we can work out a plan to get to that number that you need. But it is a very clinical approach, and we're very honest. We're only giving advice. We need to have, from our business, we need to have 100% success ratio. That means each one of our clients needs to pay their bills for the rest of their lives. So that's important, and that's what we strive to achieve with each one of our clients.
And that's exactly what the client's going to get. Not a guarantee that they will be able to pay their bills, but a guarantee that based on the information they've been given, what bills they'll be able to pay, or if they want to pay more bills, what they need to do in order to achieve a greater level of wealth in order to do that.
But exactly, and also we can determine when somebody can stop working, which is important. Once you've reached that magic number, you only work because you love to do it. You don't work because you have to. So we actually determine how long your work life can be. So it's just a very nice tool that we use for each one for planning and to set the roadmap going forward.
Well, Jodi, my blessing to you is that all your clients should fall in the latter category, that you need to tell them when they should stop working, and they turn around to you and say, Jodi, no, we love what we do, we will keep working, rather than the other scenario where a person just needs to work because they need to be able to pay the bills. But yet, once again, everyone can get hold of you on the Citadel website, am I right?
Exactly. And also one thing I want to just state is that money is not going to make people happy. That's important for somebody to understand. So you've got to be happy within yourself. We can get to that financial independence, but it won't make you happy. So it's just important to understand that.
Yeah, I suppose that's the old adage that comes from the ethics of our fathers. Who is someone who's happy with his lot? And,
yes.
But practically, your lot needs to be big enough to pay the mortgage or the rent and the medical aid and the food and the insurance, etc., etc. But if you don't plan, you're going to fail. It's just as simple as that. And the tools are out there. You just need to reach out.
Agreed.
Fantastic.
Agreed.
Jodi Suchard, thank you so much for your time, and thanks for coming on the show once again.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Abby.
Great. That was Jodi Suchard, who's an advisory partner at Citadel. I apologize about the connection. It wasn't all that brilliant. But please go along to the Citadel website and go have a look at what they have to offer. And if you are in that scenario, if any of what we discussed today resonates with you, please be in touch with Jodi. I've met her personally. I've sat down with her, and you're going to get the most solid, straightforward advice that you can get. Incredibly professional, incredibly qualified to give advice. Especially if you're somebody of means and you've got quite a lot of money and you're not quite sure how to go forward. Well, then step out of the dock and just go and sit down with Jodi at Citadel. Put your cards on the table and listen to the advice. If you like what you hear, you are going to have a good partner going forward, both in the financial planner and in the company, and go along and have a look at that.